Hello. Welcome to Star Wars Newsnet Live, which I can't really, I don't want to blow out the microphone, but I kind of want to do like the whole like explanation point, everything. So that's always a lot of fun. So welcome. I'm super excited to talk to everyone today. I've got a kind of a last minute kind of change, but you know what? I'm excited to talk about do this because I've got my buddy Tyler here with me, and we're going to go over Star Wars Visions Season 2 with a little bit of it'll be a little different, but it's going to be really, really fun. So anyway, thank you all for joining us here. I'm just going to, I just got to fix a few things here for everybody to, get behind the scenes. But yeah, we're talking about Star Wars Visions Season 2, as if I can ever talk. And we're going to talk about each episode. We're going to talk about a ranking here. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I can't wait to go into it with everybody. And for whatever reason, I can't find the thing I'm looking for. This is really frustrating me. Where's my layout? Here, one second, everybody. Bear with me 1 second. Why is this not working? And I forget it. Okay. All right, we're going to get started here. I'm going to take your way to this thing. I'm all discombobulated, everyone, today. Hello. Welcome, Tyler.
The struggles of going live sometimes when technology works perfectly until the time you need it to, and then it just stops.
Yeah, it's just it's how it works here. I was trying to figure this out, like my layout here, but for whatever reason, it just did it's not working, and it's really driving me nuts. So anyway, after I fix that up here, we'll keep talking. So today we're gonna talk about Star Wars Visions, y'all, and we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, I should say. And we talked about Vision Season 1, which I thought was a lot of hit and miss in it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of good, a lot of not so good, or just kind of it's I'd say mostly good though, if that makes any sense. Mostly good. So I'm just kind of wondering, what were your thoughts on Season 1 of Visions here, Tyler?
So Season 1, it was, for me, I wouldn't say I'm the first person to jump up and down when I see any sort of like anime project. I'm intrigued, but I'm not, hitting play as soon as it drops on whatever platform I'm using. But I enjoyed most of it. For me, it was either I was completely invested, or I may have been on my phone part of the time, kind of had it on a little bit, wasn't
one of those
particularly just dived into it. I wrote down 4 that stuck out to me that were just ones I've watched several times, and then others that the rest of them I kind of haven't really revisited. So one was the Ninth Jedi, which I think everybody universally seemed to just like fall in love with, and I would love for some sort of follow-up story with that someday as well. The Village Bride was another one that one actually got me jaw-dropping, just fist pumping, like love that one. And then I love The Elder because I thought it was cool that James Hong was voicing one of the Sith or whoever the Elder like bad guy was in that one. I really appreciate him as an actor, and so pretty sure he was the guy voicing him, and so that was just kind of something for me that I love.
He's awesome. Lopan, dude. Big Trouble in Little China. If you haven't seen it, go see it, y'all. It's one of the best movies ever made. So continue.
Those 3 were kind of the ones that stood out to me, and then if I had to pick a 4th, I'd pick The Duel, or even like the Tatooine Rhapsody one, which I thought I was actually going to hate, but it actually slayed.
Thank you. Thank you. So I picked a couple out, and I've already talked about this episode or these episodes before, but I can't believe you brought up Tatooine Rhapsody, because like you, I thought this was going to be garbage. I'm like, this is going to be bad. If you would have told me that what the premise was, I'd be like, nah. But it actually was executed pretty well. And when you have a Hutt playing a bass, I mean, I'm sold. So I think you pretty much nailed all the ones I loved except for one. So really quickly, for those who don't know, to me, and I thought I saved it. Here it is. To me, the GOAT is obviously, come on, computer. Sorry, when the computer's in. There we go. Ninth Jedi. Mm-hmm. That is the GOAT. That's the greatest of all time as far as these go. And I, like you, I think they really need to go out and make some kind of animated continuation or something. Because here's what, and I said this on the Saga Continues, which you can also find out on Apple Podcast. On the Saga Continues, we talked about this, and I said that to me, Disney, it behooves them to really lean into these things because, and I love the fact that we get canon, that it's all one thing, right? Like I love the fact that it's all tied together, not completely 100%, super tight, but it's all continuing one massive story, right? And I think that there should be room for like experimentation without having to be beholden to continuity. And I think Visions is a great avenue for that. That being said, I don't want to see adaptations of things like in books and comics, because to me, you can always just do your own thing in Vision or your own films and TV shows or whatever, right? Like just keep it, try to be as like separate as possible. The one thing I would say about Visions, and I said this on the podcast, was I think that something like Ninth Jedi would be a brilliant thing for Disney to say, you know what? Let's just do what they do with Visions, give them like a 45-minute hour, whatever you want to do, and then let them do a movie. And if it hits, what do? Let's adapt it into the canon, maybe. Something like that, where you can make it a live action Ninth Jedi movie. If it is, I'm not saying that they should, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like if the movie hits with the mainstream audience and with fans, and it becomes a big hit, like would say in the vein of like Knights of the Old Republic, where like all like the deep diehards love it. And to me, like Marvel is a great testing ground of if the people are talking about it, if then like the fandom, then it's probably going to be good enough for the mainstream audience too, right? It's kind of like the greater test, right? So I say all that to say that I think that Star Wars and Disney really need to really lean into this idea of using Visions as an avenue to show what they can develop and what they can experiment with without having to like go crazy in the canon. So I think that to me, Ninth Jedi should be the first thing they do, because I think that would be amazing. What's your thoughts on that?
So I agree pretty much wholeheartedly, in the sense that I do love that they do have these different templates of stories that they can dip their toes back into and adapt more if they hear people saying, yeah, we want more Ninth Jedi. Something that I do appreciate about Star Wars is that kind of just linear timeline. We have it laid out. The story tells its own. I actually have been, something I appreciate about Visions is that I don't have to go into Visions with any sort of, I need to watch that show or that movie to understand what's going on. It's just kind of an interesting cultural adaptation of Star Wars concept. So if I am familiar with some avenue of Star Wars, I'll probably appreciate to some degree, some of these episodes of Visions, and it's not tied to canon. And I actually appreciate that. It's kind of a breath of fresh air. Sometimes if you follow Star Wars completely or Marvel, DC, they can be almost overweight, like just the weight of having to keep up with every little thing and how it affects so many things can be a little bit almost nauseating for me at times, because something I've appreciated about Star Wars, and it's kind of been degraded a little bit recently, is that each project kind of stands on its own. And with the Mandoverse, for example, right now, I'm a little bit concerned that it's going to be so meshed together, all these different shows, that the casual fan, like say like my father or some friends of mine, they're going to be like, wait, why do I have to go watch Book of Boba Fett or Mando season 2 to understand Ahsoka? How do I not know anything about this character at Ahsoka? And we saw that, I think, in some of Mando season 3 with people not understanding why Grogu was back with Din already. And so to bring back Visions, it is nice to just kind of have a breath of fresh air, sit back, put something on that isn't necessarily tied to all of these things that we should have seen before, and we can just appreciate each one for what it is.
I think that that's kind of the problem though when you do these big franchises and it's like you're gonna alienate some people who just want to not have to watch a bunch of stuff, and I think that's fair for them to be like not like that. But that's just, the reality is we want to consume. I personally I prefer, if I had to choose, I'd prefer the Book of Boba Fett route opposed to like just be completely their own like things, right? To me anyway. That's what I would. And I think most people, not literally Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, those only two things, but you get what I'm saying. In general, you want things to connect more than not. And I think that right now, that's what most people would want too, that are basically paying and supporting these things like outright, right? So I think that, but that's the thing, you run that risk of doing that, and that's where these one and dones, if you will, are great, so that there's no baggage going into them. Really quick, and we'll move on to our main topic here in a second. There's a couple things I want to talk about. This is the one that you didn't mention.
Okay.
And this is the one on Visions season 1 that I thought that, and I've talked about in the previous episodes, that people like don't take seriously because of like it's a big bunny rabbit. And I think it's fair, but at the same time, I'm going to say right now, Lop and Ojo is definitely 100%. I think one of the best, if not the best, besides after Last Jedi, or oh my God, Ninth Jedi. The Freudian slip on that one. I think it's better than almost. I think I would say Village Bride, which I love too. You liked every single one I liked essentially. I like the Duel too, or the not the Duel. Is Duel the first one, or is that the one with the guy you were talking about?
The Duel is the first one.
Yeah, the Duel I think is overrated. It's not bad. It's too on the nose in my opinion.
Okay.
But the other one, the guy from Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, I keep forgetting his name. I'm terrible with names. So I think this one's great. I think the animation's incredible. It's actually a really great story. I will wholeheartedly agree and admit that I am a little biased towards this episode. So because I have a personal interest of what it represents. So, but I don't care because I love it and I cried my eyes out when I watched it. So that being said, but yeah, Village Bride was incredible. Yes, but to me, Ninth Jedi is definitely the GOAT still of all seasons. I'm just going to tell you right now, and they need to make a movie of this continuation ASAP. So getting into from season 1, which give me your ranking. We'll just start the rankings now, people. Get everyone who's watching or live with us and in the comment section too, but mainly live chat people. Because again, I want the live chat to kind of help lead this, or not help, but do lead this. We'll get the ranking system, which we've done before. All right. So Tyler, what's your ranking of Star Wars Visions season 1 as outright?
Season 1, I would probably say, like, for me, an 8.4. Just because I was mostly pretty overwhelmingly positive about each episode. I mean, there's 9, 10 episodes in the season, and I kind of sat here and named 5 or 6 that I just
you
really
named
enjoyed.
A lot.
So,
yeah.
So if there's 5 or 6 I really enjoy, and then yeah, sure, I'll give it a nice 8.4.
That's not bad. I think I'd probably give it like I'd probably give an 8.5, 8.8 somewhere. Yeah, I think 8.5. I'm right there with you. Like, I think it wasn't perfect. There's a couple that I'm like, yee, but but at the same time, you're giving these artists and I say in artists and creative people complete freedom to do whatever stories they have. So, yeah. So people in the chat, give me your overall ranking of, Star Wars Vision season 1. Again, the classic ranking system as we talked about before. Oh man, a lot of 8.5s across the board. Okay, people keep giving it, to me. Here's a really quick. I love Ninth Jedi so much. I could talk about it all day. I'm gonna say you could set this up to be any era. You know what I mean? Like you could do that any era. You could do it Old Republic or in the future. Like, do you agree with that, Tyler? Am I crazy?
I agree, and that's part of the beauty of Visions is that some of these episodes can just sit and you just use your imagination to kind of say, oh, I think that's here or there, and you're not right or wrong.
That's a great point. You using your imagination of where it could go. I didn't even consider that, but that really is maybe like it's almost like that was unintentional. But you're right. Like that's a great way of thinking about it. So, all right, people, continue to give us your rankings of season 1 overall Visions, which again, I liked it 8.5. You gave it 8.4. I think that's very fair. All right. So you admittedly have not watched all Visions.
No,
So
I've
season
seen
2.
I've seen the first episode of season 2 and have not dived in yet. It's a summer project. Let's say that.
I got you. I get you. We're all good. And I'm glad someone finally noticed this because I'm gonna, because people want to think that my love of Rise of Skywalker is just fake or it's just ridiculous. Like, no, guys, y'all don't realize I love that movie a lot. So I'm gonna be repping it back for everybody else.
I appreciate that.
I will defend it to the day I die. I think
I want to apologize for all Visions lovers that I've not watched season 2. I'm such a big Star Wars book guy, and so most of my spare time really has just been. I finished. I'm behind on some. I don't know if you're a Star Wars book guy or not, but I read Brotherhood. I just finished Brotherhood today, which
I've heard it's great. I've heard it's good.
Obi-Wan Anakin book, and I'm finally because I've been reading straight High Republic and reviewing High Republic books for Star Wars Newsnet, and so finally it was like, okay, let me go catch up on some I haven't read, but that's kind of where but summer's here. Watch some Visions here pretty soon.
So before we get into Visions, let me ask you this. Because I do read. Well, I don't read books. I listen to them. I'm an audiobook guy. I'm more of a comic book guy. I'm not sure if you knew that. I love me some comics.
Okay, I'm a big comics guy.
Yeah, but the High Republic novels have been. I loved actually Light of the Jedi. I think that was a great book, and then it just went like that for me, and I just cannot get into them. And I'm trying. Some of the comics have been really mediocre in my opinion. It's not great.
I have liked the novels a lot more than I've liked the comics, and I've reviewed a lot of those comics.
And like the best comics are the ones written by Charles Soule. No surprise there. I mean, like the Blade's been pretty fun.
The Blade was great. Crimson Reign was awesome for the most part.
The one where it's like I haven't finished it because life is crazy, but the one I liked, excuse me, it was a miniseries with like the Jedi and like the detective. Like that one was not bad. When I read that, and I thought it was pretty decent for the most part. I read like the first half or whatever. I thought was good. I forgot what it's called, Trial or something. I'm terrible with names. Anyway, but yeah, we'll have to have you back on. We'll talk about some High Republic stuff some one day because that's something that I try so hard to get into, but it's been like a bummer to like I have not gotten into it as much as I wanted to. But I digress. Star Wars Visions Season 2. I just did a big deep dive review of this for the Saga Continues. So if you want even deeper what I'm doing here, go check me out there on that site, on that podcast with my good buddies. But we're going to do more of a kind of general overview of this. And you've only seen one. So we're going to do a little fun with Tyler here. I'm going to pitch him every episode he hasn't seen in a very general way. And then people in the audience, please join in as well to help pitch this. And he'll give us a ranking of how excited he is for his ranking excitement.
I'm excited for this. I know I'm going to make people mad at some.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll start with season 2, and I'll give my overall ranking at the end. So people in the chat right now, go ahead, join us, or if you're watching, please get in the live chat and give us your rankings. We're going to start with the first episode, which is one you have seen. So you actually give us a legitimate one, which is the Sith episode. Now, for those who are going to be asking me, or they're going to go over what animation studio? No, I just don't have the time to break down every single animation studio I want. Because to me, what's important is the art itself. So if you want to know what it is, go at it with the internet. But otherwise, I want to just dive in deep into like what they've given us, because I think what they've given us is, for the most part, has been great for almost all these studios. So Tyler, I'll throw it to you. Give me your ranking and then go into a little mini review of Sith, what you've seen.
So in the terms of my ranking, I don't know, like it's hard to I struggle ranking because I've only seen one, because I'm like, well, what if I like this one way more when I watch it? And I'm like, I can't have that so high, but 8.6, 8.7 for Sith. I'm a sucker for like stories of redemption and things like that. And so seeing a story where it's like she used to be like among the Sith, and I just anytime I see that and she's like trying to live this better life and get away from that, and I just remember Yoda just saying, once you start the dark path, like forever will it dominate your destiny. And then here we have just kind of a short of someone who, was able to defeat that ideal that a lot of the Jedi had, and was able to come back from whatever she got into with the
Right.
Sith. Surely nothing good. And being able to overcome her old master like that, I really love the color scheme of their
Yeah.
duel, with the different colors of the blades, the paint kind of changing color throughout. It honestly, it was just a ton of fun to watch. And something I really appreciate about Visions is just the deep, thematic storytelling they're able to do in these 20 minute spurts.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing I would say too is there is a beauty of condensed storytelling, and that, I was watching this interview with some a comic book writer named JMD Mateus, and I love, even one of my favorite comic writers, and he talked about he cut his teeth on writing and by writing comics, by writing only short, like 8-page stories. And that's what a lot of like the British writers from the comic books, like Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, a lot of those guys, Mark Millar, excuse me. They all worked on that compilation comic book that's out there called 2000 AD, and it's all condensed 8 pages. And they learned how you can not cut the things, but like develop things a lot faster in condensed storytelling. And this is very much in that same vein, where you're given a lot in a short amount of time, and it's not decompressed, right? Whereas we're used to decompression, like in Mandalorian maybe, or in Book of Boba Fett, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing all the time, but there's something about getting things to the point, and there's an art to the art of writing a short story compression, right? And I think that when you do it well, it's really impressive. And I think that this one really did a good job of showcasing the themes and everything about it, with the Sith Master and the droids and what it means, and just, to create, she's literally creating her own destiny by painting. And I love the themes and all that. There's lots of great stuff here that I liked a lot. When I found out the title was called Sith, I don't like when things are too obvious. I don't want to say it's lazy, because that's not what I would say there, but it's just too on the nose. It's kind of like the duel. The duel is too on the nose, having like stormtroopers with like the hats and everything. It's too on the nose. Like, get more creative with it. If you're gonna create that, just have them be stormtroopers, right? But with this, it's like, again, we're called Sith. Okay, there's a Sith in here. Give me something more than that. Like, and I kind of came into it a little like not discouraged, but a little like kind of whatever, thrill me kind of a thing. And I was really impressed, actually, because I think the visuals are so stunning to me with the Sith Master when he shows up. It's rad. And there is this whole dynamic of it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's like it's an exaggeration. This is all an exaggeration of a Star Wars story, right? Like, because like the whole planet being white, it's not, this is not literal, but it's so steeped in Star Wars that it felt like it fit perfectly. Does that make any sense?
No, absolutely. And then just going back to what you said before about the art of just like that, just short storytelling. Like I teach ELA, so I teach a lot of writing to middle schoolers, and we do short story, assignments, short story things. And it's so popular amongst middle schoolers because there's something about being able to digest a story in 15 minutes, whether you're reading it, watching it, and talking about it versus maybe having so much, going on sequentially. And it is really satisfying to sit back and watch something and be able to see an entire arc played out in 15, 20 minutes. It's really awesome.
And people, forget, like, that's what kind of makes movies so good, right? Is that you go through such a short amount of time. And it's not because people, when they think of movies, they think of like, oh, it's so good and we get so much out of it. And then I wish there was a TV show, and we get that, and those are great, but there is decompression within, a lot of times with TV shows because like it's you know what I mean? Like it's not always
Absolutely.
a perfect world. And I think that's what makes film so unique is that you can go on such a great massive journey that's such a short amount of time that it feels longer than it is. And that's what people like just kind of take for granted, in my opinion, with film. And I think that when you keep cutting it down shorter and shorter, you kind of see the beauty of the fact that of where these shorts can do and what that massive journey can go on in that short amount of time. It's really impressive when people can really master that art of short stories. But yeah, I thought Sith was, if I had to rank it, I'd give this one probably a good solid point. I'll give it a 7.8. 7.8 for Sith, because I think that it's good, but it's a little too experimental at times. And I think honestly the title kind of makes it. I think
it drops it. It can't be an 8 if the title is Sith. That's what I'm hearing. It has to be at least
too. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like, come on, get more creative with it, in my opinion. But it's still a good. It's still a really good one. I mean, it's just one of the better, I think, overall the whole series. You know, of the season 1 and 2. So we'll go there, and we're about to go into territory where you haven't seen them. So I'll do my best to kind of pitch these without having any biases. So this next one's Screecher's Reach. People in the chat, you already, please remind me what you've done, or in the comment section, excuse me, what your ranking of the last one is. And I will really curious what people think about this one. This is Screecher's Reach. Now, this is without spoiling it for you, Brian, and the audience who haven't maybe watched it, but let me pitch it to you guys. Okay. This is a, think of 80s coming of age story with young kids in the horror genre. Okay. And some twists and turns you don't expect. And again, I don't want to spoil it for people, especially for you, Tyler, because I'm not into spoiling. I hate spoilers. And I want people to really experience all these, especially this one, because there's some surprises in this one that are fantastic. People in the chat, give me your rankings of Screecher's Reach. I'm going to tell you right now, this one may be, I think this is the best of season 2 by far. Because it's a dark, and I know I'm going to get you really excited about this one, Tyler. Like we talked about, like what you can use your imagination that we talked about before with Ninth Jedi. This could be any era, and it could easily be like in canon, easily, kind of like Ninth Jedi. Like Ninth Jedi, maybe a little bit with the lightsabers themselves are kind of a little bit, they use some exaggeration there, but that's like the only thing I would say. But you could work around that pretty easily, I think. That being said, I do think Screecher's Reach by far could be put in almost any era of Star Wars, minus like obviously the High Republic era, or maybe like the Skywalker era, you could say. So I would give Screecher's Reach probably a 9.2 because it's that good. It's not quite perfect because it's you have to be perfect. It's like, damn. But like 9.2 is pretty damn good. I love this one. People in the chat, tell me what you think of Screecher's Reach, and what's your excitement level on Screecher's Reach right now, Tyler?
Well, it's pretty high. So I'll be honest, I don't know why. I don't know if it's just the random, like the boy standing there. I'm getting strong Broom Boy vibes from
No, not at all. Not at all.
Which I'd be fine with. I love Last Jedi. That's a conversation for another day.
We're gonna slip a show now, guys. See you all later. Bye. Anyway, continue.
But is that like a mountain in front of him or something? So I actually really dig the poster. And so I think coming of age 80s. So I'm thinking but horror. So like if Breakfast Club gone wrong or something, like
kind of
or
like that.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off horror.
Think Stand by Me.
Stand by Me. Okay, Stand by Me
with a horror aspect with Star Wars.
Okay.
As like the setting.
Okay, so I'm probably like a 9 already. Just I love 80s movies in general, and then just thinking of like in the horror film from like 15 to 20 minutes, and then the fact that it's imaginative. I can put this in any era. That's why I love like Christopher Nolan films that really make me
Mm-hmm.
think, and that this doesn't explain it all to me right away. I have to
Mm-hmm.
almost kind of really be paying attention, and then afterwards, it gives me some time to just reflect. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why one of the reasons I love Ninth Jedi is I sat and was like, who are all these people? Like, where could they be going next? And
Oh man,
okay,
you're
so
gonna
I'll
love
give
this one.
myself a 9 on Screecher's
All
Reach.
right, all right.
I'll be
You're
pretty pumped for this one.
Dude, go watch this right after. I think this is if there's one you're gonna watch right after this, go watch this one. This one is. I'll just say this: a buddy of mine warned me because my kid's been watches a bunch of these with me too. Right? She's only 3 years old, and we watched the first one, and the first one's kind of intense. You know, it's not like scary, but it's got some scariness to it, right?
Right.
A buddy of mine goes, "Hey, you may want to like not show Lou Screecher's Reach. It's pretty scary."
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, really? Oh, come on, man." And then but I didn't respond to him yet, or I hadn't yet at that time. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll skip it just in case, I'll watch it first, And I watched it. I went, yeah, glad I didn't show her that. That was frightening. There was some,
You would have
there's
had
some
to put
heavy
on
stuff.
Jedi Adventures right afterwards to try to calm her down.
Straight up love Jedi Adventures. I ain't gonna lie,
Yeah.
it's legit. Like I am a champion for that show too. That show is fantastic. We'll talk about that. I'll sell you on that later. Yeah, people in the chat, give me your rankings on Screecher's Reach. What do you guys think? 1 out of 10. Tell me, as I think it's a 9.2 easily. Next on the list, another high point in my opinion is In the Stars. Now, this was the first one I had watched on the Star Wars Visions 2. For whatever reason, I just went to this one first, and I watched this one with my daughter, and she loved this one, where she made me watch it again when we were watching them. She kind of recognized what we were doing. She's like, I want to watch this one. And I was like, okay, watch it again. And it was funny. My wife was like, I don't want to watch this one again. I was like, just watch it again. And she got back into it. It was cool. She's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah. So this one is for those who are watching for the first time, or I don't want to spoil it, but the basic premise is these two sisters are giving they're on a planet that as you can see, is being taken over by the Empire, and they are just kind of their kind of story and where their legacy kind of lies a little bit. And there's a lot of good drama in this, I would say, that I was not expecting. And the music music in this series overall I thought was pretty well done. Besides the episode, but this episode in particular really has really solid different kinds of music that I thought was really good. I think they should maybe employ some of these people for the live action stuff, because I thought this was pretty dang good. With Ludwig being a ginormous name now and in composing, I'm not sure if they're going to get the stuff in some of the recent shows have not been bad, but it's not been great. And some of the stuff in these shows have been pretty impressive and interesting and unique. In the Stars, I thought, is a great story. You could easily make this canon, I think, and I think it's it's just a lot of good. Again, that whole compression thing we talked about earlier, Tyler. It takes that compression thing and tells a great, complete a very emotional story in this the first only in like 15 minutes, whatever. And I think it's really, really good. I'd give this probably. Oh, man, if I gave Screecher's Reach a 9.2, I'd give this a 9.0.
Okay.
Screecher's Reach gets. I'll just say without spoiling Screecher's Reach, I'd give it a little bit of an edge on this one, just barely, because it deals in things in Star Wars that I love a little more than In the Stars. But In the Stars is still in that same vein, and I love it. And the animation is chef's kiss. It's so unique and cool and awesome. So I love this. Now I give this a 9.0. People in the chat, before we go any further, I got some people. This is for Screecher's Reach, a 10 for Screechers, 9.5 for Screechers. Absolutely. What's here? Mr. Wilson, he gives it a 9. He gives this one a 9.8. Yeah.
I would say like 9.9 on the excitement scale for a few reasons. One, like I see a TIE fighter, ATST up there. Like I'm already intrigued. But one of my favorite things in all of Star Wars animation, whether it's during the Clone Wars era or Star Wars Rebels, is when we just have maybe one of those quieter episodes that focuses
Mhm.
on the people that are really being affected by the intergalactic war, conflict, politics, and you
Cool.
focus on just the people that are affected at the roots when they're whether it's they're on the Fall and Rebels, and you just see how the people are affected, or Clone Wars when they just get stranded on a planet and they're relying on the locals for help, and you see what is the war doing to these people. And so this
Right,
to me
right,
kind of
right, right.
screams one of those episodes
Mhm.
that kind of gets into maybe a little
Yes.
bit more culture kind of put into this.
Yes.
And you sold me on drama. Like, I love dramas outside
Oh,
of
you're
like
gonna love this.
sci-fi films. Like, period dramas are like my favorite type of film to watch.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So this kind of just feels like, okay, we're seeing the might of the oppression of the empire, and what that's
Absolutely.
doing at the base level to the people who um don't necessarily always get their voice to be heard in the state of what's going on. So yeah, I would say I'm pretty high up on this. Is probably the one I would be most inclined to hit play right away.
Oh, man. It's crazy as I'm looking at these, like, 3 in a row because they start out firing on all cylinders out the gate, man, 'cause Sith is great, Screecher's Reed's amazing, this is amazing, like, it really does, and, it goes hard fast, man, it's like, wow, and the one thing I would say talked about, there is a lot more of a focus. It seems like a theme of, I would say, the Force. I mean, the Force always, right? But I mean, like, it's interesting how they all kind of are not connected, but they're kind of similar in themes and what they do. And I would say that the theme of the oppression of the Empire is heavily in a lot of these episodes, like almost like not just like, oh yeah, the Empire's in it. No, no, no. Like the theme of like complete oppression of the cultures that they're in, what the individual cultures is heavily like the main theme or focus, opposed to just like, just bad guys or whatever. It is interesting that those are all kind of very similar to that. I'm not sure if that's intentional. This by far is one of the best. If it's right underneath Screecher's Reach, just barely. But
Okay,
yeah, I think you're gonna love this one. Then
I think so too.
there's a couple. There's Yeah, we'll talk about those other ones here in a second.
Curious about that guy in the corner who's giving off like just total like awful
Well,
imperial vibes, of course.
well, it's a lady, so get ready for a very interesting aspect with there.
Okay,
Hold
I
on,
can see that now.
yeah, hold on. I think I forgot one of them. I think I'm missing one. Gosh darn it! I thought I got them all, but I don't think I'm missing one of the posters. So I apologize. We're missing one. I will find it. Let's drop my phone here. We'll skip the next one because I gotta find the poster for it. Okay. Let's see here. Sorry, 1 second. Let's go to this one. This Journey to Darkhead. So it doesn't go. I'm skipping one, and then but I gotta find the right poster for the other one, for the claymation one, the one I like a lot. This one is a little more. This is where I think the quality starts to kind of shift a little bit for people. I personally think this one's pretty good. Um, I would even argue that this is one that you could say could be in any era, besides like the main, like one we're in, right? The Fall of the Empire or
Mhm.
Rise of the Empire or whatever you want to say. This one's very much in the kind of like not like Jedi, but kind of like in that same kind of vein, right? Um, and this is something that the premise is basically this: the person on the left is seeing premonitions and foresees, like, if we take the physical head off this like dark like statue, like the symbol of this dark statue,
Mhm.
then it will turn the tide for the Jedi, essentially. I'm just doing
Okay.
a very basic thing here. And this Jedi loses I think a mentor, and then has to like face that person that took the mentor during this episode, and there's an uneasy alliance between the two. This one's not over like loved as much as I like this episode a lot. I think it's pretty solid, to be honest. I like the mythology of it a lot. So yeah, people in the chat, what's your take on this? I'm going to give this probably a solid 7.1. It's not, I think it's better
Okay.
than a 7.0. I can see the faults of it. It's a little, you have to kind of go with it a little bit more, I think, than the other ones. But I think it's still fun. I love Jedi stuff, so maybe I'm biased towards
Mm-hmm.
that. But I give it a 7.1. People in the chat in there, what do you guys all think of this? What would you rank this to be? I don't know. But yeah, what's your take on this one of this kind of more of a force dark side, light side kind of aspect?
Right now, I'm thinking around a 6.2,
All right.
6.3,
All right.
just because whenever they get into, sometimes they get into those premonitions, force vision, whatever, it can get a little bit convoluted for me. And I don't know how I
Mhm.
feel sometimes about it. But something I
Okay.
like right now is the way just the lightsaber looks in that animation.
Yes.
It's just something about it is so pleasing to the eye.
It
And
is.
and
Yes.
sometimes how they do the lightsaber animations, both in Visions and the other animated shows,
Mhm.
it's just hit or miss for me. Like Rebels, for instance, I didn't love the super skinny lightsabers
Yeah.
in Rebels all
Same.
the time.
Mhm.
Love some of the duels in Rebels, but just sometimes how
Word.
skinny. But that looks really cool. And then I don't know what it is going on behind him, like Praetorian Guard vibes with Doc Ock arms coming out of him or something. I'm not really sure. But it's cool. It looks
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, but I'm not necessarily like the last one with the drum and the one before that. Much more like super invested. I like light and dark, things like that. But to me, there's so many great stories in Star Wars with the Jedi and light and dark that sometimes I want to dip my toes in situations like this into something a little bit less um,
Yeah.
in that light
No,
necessarily.
totally. I think that's a good point. I think that I've always said that the most underrated aspect of Star Wars is the how diverse of kinds of storytelling you can tell. Like you don't, it's like that's where people like forget that Star Wars really is genius because of what the fantasy element and the science fiction element. There's literally all kinds of stories you can tell
Mhm.
through that and mix and match or whatever, right? So um yeah, I think everyone's pretty fair with this one, to be honest. I think a 7 is pretty. I think you'll see it. I think you'll enjoy it pretty, decently well. I just don't think people. I can see why people don't love it as much. And I can sympathize, but I like it too. I think it's great. Still, regardless. All right, back in order here. I finally found the poster. I'm not sure what happened in the first place, but we've got "I Am Your Mother." Now, these are the only one I know the animation studio because
Mhm.
because this is by the Wallace and Gromit people. If you guys,
Right.
the claymation. Uh, I think this one is not a bad episode. Not a bad episode. It's a fine, fun. It's a very cute, fun episode about a mother
Mhm.
and a daughter, and it's it's super fun. It's super fun. I'd give this probably a good 6.7. It's not like my favorite, but it's also like Ken, you talked about, it's almost like a palate cleanser after getting so many, this is right before Darkhead, but like after the first three that are like, whoa, it's like heavy. It's a good palate cleanser. It's almost like these shorts are like an album of music where it's like you don't want to just go like, just the whole
Mhm.
time. It's like you kind of have to like go in. If you're a music person like me, it makes mix CDs or playlists now you call them, but make a playlist where it's like go high first or go back to low, and then kind of like the
Ramp it back
tones are
up. Mhm.
yeah, you got to know the tones when to do this, right? And I think that that's what it feels like what they're doing with the Visions order, and this definitely felt like a good way to put a lighthearted episode after the heavy stuff we get.
Mhm.
So I give this a good 6.7. People in the chat, what would you give it? I think that 6.7 out of 10 is not terrible. If you like lighthearted, fun stuff, and like I do think they get Star Wars completely, um, and they do a lot of fun, cutesy things with it. It's just fun. A good palate cleanser for what the dark stuff we got before. Let's see what the chat says here. We've got Andrew. Yeah, I think it's 6.8 is a good. It's a good number. It's a great number. And then we've got here. Yeah, yeah. There you go. All right. What's your excitement level at with this one? Tyler?
I'm with MB Wilson on my excitement level and his grade.
Right.
I'm at like a 7.5. So I come from like my girlfriend makes fun of me all the time because I'm super like cheesy, corny, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I love kind of some more wholesome storytelling and just random wholesome episodes. Like that's something I always love about like Clone Wars, just the really random episodes in it that just are kind of a fun little side thing that just makes you feel good after you watch it. Some of my favorite stuff in Star Wars, even just occasionally. And so this kind of looks like it'll fit that bill of just 15 minutes. And I might feel good watching it, seeing some just like family dynamics come into play. And it might be a
Mhm.
little corny, cheesy, too much in that department, but I think I am
You'll
someone
love it.
like eat
Yeah,
that
I
up
think you'll like it a
quite
lot.
a
I
bit.
think you'll like it. What you're telling me, if you like the cheesy kind of corny kind of stuff, like it's that, but like in the best way.
Like I mean,
You'll like
like I like the random something at random is like the random droid arc in Clone Wars where the
yeah.
droids come together and it's like this kind of stupid, really makes no sense because you're about to get into something really serious afterwards. But I love that 4 episode arc. I don't know what it is about. I just love sometimes those little cheesy corny, just like
No,
one offs.
you'll love it. Dude, I'm already can tell like you're gonna literally dig this season of Visions, I think. Up until we get a little bit more of a negativity here. I don't like being negative, but this is when things kind of start going sour for me a little bit. So
Things
with
are
next week,
going downhill.
a little bit, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go. The next is the Sky Dancer. Now this is interesting because it kind of goes back into the in the stars vein where it talks about the oppression of the empire,
Okay.
and it kind of focuses on that aspect a little bit, right? And just kind of the impact of like certain cultures and like in this like a very dramatic story within it. They take real life things. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but they take some real life stuff from like World War II and implement it here. Um, it's not the worst story in the world. It's just not the one that I really gravitated towards personally. I thought it was fine. Animation was a little jarring at times for me. It almost people are almost too exaggerated to like it. To me, it's like if you're gonna go exaggerated, you got to go hard, right? Like, and I felt like it didn't go hard enough. Where this was trying to be like we're gonna be exaggerated, but a little bit safe. I don't know. This would have not connected with me as much. I'd give this a ranking of probably like a 5.2. Like
Okay.
this is not one that I'm like I'm not really gonna ever watch again. But I wouldn't say it's terrible outright. It's just not one that I connected with. And the animation does get a little jarring for me. It's just not. Yeah, just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. A decent story. I like the historical like connection to it, but that I'm like, I'm not sure. People in the chat who are here, what's your ranking of Sky Dancer? Tell me what you guys all think. I'm waiting for other people to show up before I ask your excitement level. I want to see what the other people are saying. Wilson, Andrew, come on, man. Where are you guys at? I need you guys were bailing me out before. Come on. Here we go. Let's see what Mr. Wilson says. Whoa. Wow. All right. Well,
9 sorry, 9 out of 10. He's helped me out. Oh, Andrew says no.
Andrew, 6.5 is not. I would say that's more of leans more positive. I think it shows you that they're not high on it, but a 6.5 is saying like
Still
it's not
some enjoyment.
Yeah, it's still enjoyment out of it, So I mean,
absolutely.
Like, oh, okay. Okay. See, that makes more sense. Everything people, it seems like the animation doesn't kind of rub people the wrong way. So, what's your hot initial impression now on this?
So I am a 4.1, mostly
right.
because I love history, and so any aspect of history that we see some parallels. That's all that's keeping it there. To be honest, I just look at this person on this poster, and there are just in the way they dress, or the way they looks very similar to concept art of the mother, who is an antagonist from High Republic Phase 2. And I hate that person. She broke my heart too many times, and so I'm still upset. And I'm just looking at this and I'm getting images of Cataclysm, Convergence, Path of Deceit, whatever, all the books I've been reading. And this trauma still pours through. And so I'll be honest, I'm completely biased just from a simple image on the poster. But you know what? Well, maybe this person can do me better than the other did.
You need to hit me up when you watch all these. I'm really curious. I'm like, you got me really intrigued what you're gonna say with all these, man. Because I'm like, man. All right, so we're going to the next one. That one, no, it's not terrible. It's not my favorite. I'd say this is another one that's not my favorite. Now, this is one that I think you're gonna really like because all things you've talked about. This actually looks the most like Clone Wars animation.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, in fact, I think one of my Kyle from the Saga Continues even said he thinks they even use like actual like models from it looks almost identical.
Oh wow.
And that would make sense. It definitely feels like a Clone Wars episode with a feel and the tone. It's not a bad episode. I just didn't care about a lot of the characters, and I don't know. It just wasn't. I didn't feel it as much. There's definitely some cool Empire, oppression stuff in here. That Jedi stuff. There's an Inquisitor in it. I'll just say that. It's okay. This is not a bad episode. People in the chat, tell me what your ranking of this 1 out of 10 is. I'm going to give this probably a 5.9. I liked it more than Skydancer, but animation style was, though it looked like Clone Wars at times, I thought the some of the designs weren't great in my opinion. I don't know. It just didn't always resonate with me. It's not a bad episode by all. I definitely watch this over Skydancer. Just not like my favorite. Not quite a 6 though. I'd say 5.9 is a good fair assessment of it. Let's see what the chat's saying. We've got let's see here. We got a 7.7 from Andrew. That's interesting. I would say 7.7's, if you love the Clone Wars, Andrew, are you a big Clone Wars person? Because if you're a big Clone Wars person, I could totally see why you would give us a 7.7. Because I definitely get lots of Clone Wars vibes from it. Not necessarily quality, but vibes. We'll wait for anyone. Mr. Wilson wants to come in here, but what's your hot take on this for your anticipation, Tyler, to watching this?
Having seen absolutely none of this episode, I can tell you that you are wrong and Andrew is correct. I mean, what is there not to like? Just seeing this poster, I mean, it looks like a mission gone wrong against the Empire. We're riding Star Wars equivalent of horses with a speeder in the back. It feels like it's going to be this crazy chase that's going to end poorly. And you have the wise sage with the sun shining, below I'm assuming that's the Inquisitor in the back with the evil eyes.
You're nailing this without watching, man. It's pretty impressive.
It's going to be just kind of some nonstop pandemonium, probably some random explosions. I'm hoping for some stormtroopers with terrible aim kind of come into this as they're unable to hit. Somehow their speeders are unable to catch horses, which is going to be very interesting. That's something that always caught me off guard was there's like random episodes where they're riding blurgs or something sometimes in Star Wars animation, and the speeders are coming in. They just can't catch them, even though I'm like, can't you just ramp that thing up like that's 100 miles an hour or something? Surely the blurgs can't run that fast. Anyway, sorry, that's just me going off the tangent.
No, I love it. This is great. I think it's great. I think you're on the money about this. Actually, I mean, you obviously teach stories, so you obviously know you've analyzed stories enough to know, and like they're all not the cliches, but the patterns, if you will, right? So my wife's an English major, so she tells me the same. All things that you said that she's said to me before too. So I'm like, I totally can everything you read. I'm like, you get it, and it's not bad. You want that. That's what you're saying. The old wide sage, and you got it. So anyway, this was not a bad episode. I think, like I said, Andrew, you're probably a big Clone Wars guy, aren't you? And he's like, yep, that's what I thought. If you love this episode, you're probably a big Clone Wars guy, for the most part. Again, not a bad episode. I think a 5.9 is a good segue, so we're approaching the end of the show and the episodes, which is really cool. We got 2 more. Next one's called The Pit. This one is this is where they kind of bleed together a little bit. The Pit and Bandits of Goluk are kind of similar, and they kind of all like this one kind of almost bleeds into the next one after the Pit as well. So it's like it's weird. This one's basically people digging for the Empire, and basically they get trapped down there. And I've only seen it once, so I'm just paraphrasing. And then the people of the town essentially go to save them, despite what the Empire is saying that don't save them, they're not worth saving, essentially, or something along those lines. And there's some cool Jedi stuff in there, kind of, a little bit intertwined. And this one I liked a lot more than Bandits of Goluk, I'll say that. And I liked it. I'd give this probably, my ranking would be I'd give it a 6.3. I think it's a good, I like this one. Animation style was cool. It was a different story. You kind of stuck in the same areas, not really, you can't really go a lot. You can't really go anywhere really super interesting to kind of, keep things moving. So it's a little bit of a slower pace, even at like the short compression, but I think it's still a good, it's still pretty good for what it is, to be honest. And I think, there's a really cool reveal at the end. So yeah, I'd give it a good 6 point. Did I say what? 6.2, 6.4? Yeah. 6.2. I'll give it 6.2, 6.1, somewhere around there. We'll see what the chat says, and I'll get your hot take here in a second. Yeah, the Pit's, it's not a bad one. I need to watch it again, I think. I liked it. Oh man, 9.8. Damn. I could see where this would hit a lot of people though. It's not bad. It's a good story. Man, Andrew's they're giving this one high praise. Maybe I ranked it too low. 6.
Go watch the Pit again.
I guess I do, but because I liked it. I didn't dislike it. It just didn't connect completely for me. So, where's your excitement level on this one, Tyler?
So I'm sitting at an 8.2.
All right.
Is that a Kyber crystal in his hands?
It just might be a Kyber. Yeah, it might be a Kyber crystal.
And then I kind of love the outfits almost in this one. And then she almost looks like she has like some, maybe it may not be symbolic at all, but almost feels like some Princess Leia like hair almost with her, with the two big buns on the side. And I don't know, brother sister type vibes. As I'm like I'm an older brother, so my sister's like 5 years younger than me. So I kind of watch this, and it's almost like they're working together through this hardship of struggling with the Empire, and they come across something that gives them hope or gives them a reason to keep going. And that's something that I can really respond to as just a fan watching. And so just from the description and just from the poster itself, I'm kind of like really intrigued by this one.
Yeah, I think you'll like this one a lot. It's funny because I think you're gonna love the season. I think even more than season one. The more we go into it, like, man, you're really gonna like this one. I think. So I don't overhype it, but I think you're gonna really enjoy most of these. The Pit, again, I get a 6.1, 6.2, but I may need to rewatch it. I definitely liked it more than the Gadok, whatever that one is. Whatever. Not a big the previous one. I'll just say that. Not a big fan of that one. Last but not least, this is the one that probably you may not like. I'd venture to say it's a little more experimental, but better because I don't even know and remember the name of the last season's and season finale or last episode, which I thought was bad personally. But the next one is experimental, but I really liked it. Oh, nice, Andrew. I appreciate it, man. Go listen to the saga continues. We go mega deep on these mad boys. The last one, at least, is Ao's song. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right, but this one, the animation's really experimental and interesting. It's almost claymation, but not. And it definitely takes that exaggeration thing we talked about earlier about with things. It definitely takes that to the limit, I think. But almost touches on some really cool aspects. There is even some elements of this could almost be in any era of like either in the far past or the far future. I think this will, because there is an exaggeration of the powers, I think a little bit of the Force and of you mix that with the experimentation of the animation style, that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'd give this probably a 7.1. I like the fact they went hard and went totally experimental, but you could almost see a toned down version of this being accurate in canon. And I thought that was really cool. And it's interesting. Like there's just really cool. Again, the short the short time and the ideas behind this one I thought was really interesting. And the premise is basically, again, I don't want to, because it's a really interesting premise. I'm just gonna say kyber crystals, corruption, and what is Ao's song mean? That's in what does that mean for the Force? We'll just say that. And if you're curious, but yeah, what that is, definitely you're gonna like. I think you may like this. I don't know. You may not like this the most. I think this and the dancer one may be the ones you dislike the most. My guess would be right now. It's you may even like this one still, but this may be your most disliked one. Not mine, but I like it. I gave it a 7.1. We'll see what the chat says here. What's up, man? Let's see here. What we got here? All right, right on, man, right on. Let's see here. What we got? All right, we got some. We got here. Yeah, I think that's a fair thing. I think totally, and yeah. See, yeah, I would agree. What's your ranking on this one, Mr. Wilson? Did you give it to me? Oh, here we go. He gave it to me. Wow. Okay, 8.8. All right. So, all right, Tyler. As we wrap up here, what's your ranking of this? This your excitement on this one?
So it's a solid 7. I'm just going to put it at 7.
Okay.
Some things that stand out that I'm a little bit nervous about are the colors are so vibrant and everything is kind of screaming at you that I almost wonder, is this going to overwhelm me for 15 minutes as I watch it? But some things that you said about it that stood out to me, and you can kind of get a little bit of it from this, is I hate it when sometimes midichlorians do this. Sometimes we as fans try to do this when we turn the Force and we try to like condense it into this box and like this is what the Force should be and this is how everyone experiences it. And I love it when Star Wars kind of opens up that box and runs wild with it because they do this in the High Republic with a lot of the Jedi. Like they each experience the Force in a completely unique way to them.
Yes.
Like one Jedi it's like they're in the forest and it's this great forest that helps ground them and center them. You have a Jedi that experiences it through music, one in ocean. And so getting a story where Ao's song Through the Force, like what does that mean to them and how they experience the Force and how they channel it and it speaks through them. That's something that actually really interests me as a Star Wars fan when it turns into more of this mystical thing and this fantasy element to it, that there is no rules, there is no hard science, it just is.
Right.
And it doesn't have to have a hard explanation. That's something that I do love, and sometimes when Star Wars gets weird like that, it actually can tell its best stories. And so, I'm
agreed. It's Mr. Wilson brings a great point here. It is a great, I think, season series close season close to this. It's last episode because it is so interesting. It definitely takes it that Avon Chris. It definitely takes an idea of that, I think, in this story. I'll say that. The thing is about I think this one in particular is the fact that it like you said, like it took you don't want to put the Force in a box because it's so you don't want to limit it that, right? And I think that just does a good job of doing the Force in a very more like almost supernatural way, not supernatural, but more powerful way, if you will. I really, again, this is not a bad episode. This is a very interesting episode. And I think it was a great, like Mr. Wilson said, a great way to end the series. And, I guess if I'm going to wrap up my thoughts on the series as a whole, I would give Vision Season 2 I'd give it an 8.2 overall. I think I think it's better. I don't know if it hits as hard as this first season. When the first season hits, it hits hard. And this one like starts off the gate pretty well. Then it kind of fades a little bit. But I felt overall it's a much stronger series, I'd say, than the previous one. I would say, I'm not sure what I gave the previous one. I'd give it a good, if they're made the same, maybe I'd give it whatever I gave before. I give it a few points higher. I think I gave it like an 8. Maybe 8.5, I'd say. This is really good. I think this showed me what I mentioned earlier, that they need to really invest in these vision things and these movies, and or make the movies or whatever, and have them be strictly visions, keep it visions. So if something really clicks, you can adapt it and put it into canon later, and really, almost like a testing ground for, and without having to be like, well, don't worry, people, no one liked this, so it's not canon, so you don't have to worry about it. Like that kind
And
of thing.
sometimes taking those chances is what you have to do. And I mean,
Yes.
it's hard to compare because of the budgets attached to them. But I mean, we're in a time where we just saw the Super Mario movie make a gajillion dollars, and Spider Verse just came out. I saw it today. It's so good and it's so fun. It's such a unique animation style. And people, will go see. I think there's sometimes this misnomer that sometimes animation is only for kids, but people are turning out in droves for these animated movies, adults, kids, whatever. And I think Star Wars might be surprised to see if they do give animation, especially animation like this, a bigger platform, like in this anime, like what the results might brew for them.
Yeah, totally. And so, in closing, well, thank you everyone for watching. Again, we really appreciate everyone who goes and likes the videos and watches all the way through. Super appreciate it. Again, this has been a lot of fun. And Tyler, thank you so much for coming on last minute.
Of course.
Like this is a lot of this. I had a blast, man. This is awesome. And I think I can't wait to see what you think of these later on. So hit me up when you watch this finally.
For sure.
So, is there anything you want to promote while I know you write reviews for the site, but anything else besides that?
No, nothing right now. I mean, you can check out if you're curious about High Republic or just Star Wars books in general. Check us out at Star Wars Newsnet. I write a lot of comic reviews, book reviews for us there. I'm a big High Republic guy, so the last few High Republic books I've written some reviews for, so you can check those out at the site. But you can find me on Twitter at @typerad5. That's about it, because my students will track me down on every other form of social media. So try to stay off it as much as I can.
I don't blame you, bro. I don't blame you. Right on, man. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And if you want, you can follow me on Twitter at Herman22, aka P Thug. I'm on many different podcasts. The first one I'm going to tell you about is going to be my passion project, which is the Comic Binge, where I review pretty much some kind of comic book every week, or it's either be Marvel, DC, or some super independent thing or whatever. But either way, you can count on us to talk about comic books there. And this week we've got, obviously, I'm trying to tie this into great stuff because I'm a giant Spider-Man fan. But dude, we've got freaking 2099 first 12 issues, me and a bunch of people review and talk about our introduction to Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099. And it's a great introduction, I think, for people who are wanting to get into comic books, or after they watch Across the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse. So if you're looking to get into comic books, this is a good way to kind of test your waters a little bit. This is part of my sub-series called the Spider-Man Council, which has been a lot of fun. So there's a whole playlist of things there if you want to dive into. I got it all organized over there. Go check it out. Like the videos for me. Subscribe, because I'm really close to being able to monetize, and I'd like to do that and actually not be broke for the rest of my life, and just be able to use this to buy things that I can actually do, like my friends' movie tickets or whatever. I'm not looking to make a living after this thing, but it'd be nice to get some help out there. But either way, go check us out there. I love it. It's a blast. And also check out my other Star Wars podcast, which is The Saga Continues, with my good friends Kyle and Tim. We just broke down, deep dive all of these episodes for almost 2 hours. We went through a lot, and we broke a lot of things down. It was a lot of fun. And love those guys. Been doing it for a while with them. They're great. It's been super great. Whoops, wrong one. So way there. Here we go. Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate that. And just go check us out on there, and appreciate it. And any last thoughts before we head out here, sir?
Nothing for me. Looking forward to watching Visions 2 probably in about 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Dang.
I'm going on a cruise tomorrow, so I'll be MIA for a week, and then when I get back, it's like, all right, here we go.
All right. Well, anyway, everyone, thank you for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you always, and good night. Goodbye, guys. If it's